This is how you survive encountering Kuchisake Onna. Kuchisake Onna is a figure in Japanese urban legend also known as a slit-mouth woman. Some believe she used to be a beautiful woman until her husband took a pair of scissors and slit her mouth from ear to ear. Now the spirit of Kuchisake Onna wanders the streets of Japan, wearing a surgical mask and holding a pair of scissors. And if you're not careful, she'll give you a permanent smile just like hers. To survive an encounter with her, you'll have to answer her questions correctly. She asks all her victims, "Am I beautiful?" But saying yes will result in her slitting your mouth to look just like hers. Saying no will send her into a rage as well. The only correct way to answer is to say something vague. Or you can answer her question with another question, like asking her, "Do I look beautiful?" This will confuse her and buy you more time to escape. Remember to tag a friend and follow for more.
Creepy things hidden in photos. A normal selfie? Who is that in the mirror? A regular man at work. Is that Pennywise? A normal picture of a woman. Is that Slender Man? A normal wedding photo. There's help written on his shoes. A family at the dinner table. Is that a ghost? A normal tree. Did you see the spider? Another normal wedding photo. Is that a ghost? Two friends in a picture. Is that Chucky?
There are some crazy things happening in the world right now. A hospital in Maine had a computer system error that sent death letters to over 500 living patients. Kim Kardashian blamed ChatGPT for failing her law exams. The Louvre's video security system password when the heist happened was Louvre. The Prime Minister in Japan says that she's sleeping only 2 to 4 hours a night amid criticism over the entire work culture of the country. A man who cryogenically froze his wife is now facing criticism after finding new love. There is a new app that lets you talk to AI avatars of deceased loved ones. The inventor of Linux says vibe coding with AI is okay, unless it's used for anything that matters. A woman's entire driveway was stolen when she was trying to sell her house, and now she's just left with a rocky road as she tries to find who did it. Microsoft has publicly warned that their new AI software installing on Windows 11 could install malware onto your computer. The tech company Cognizant now is saying that they're going to monitor their employees' laptops and determine them idle after only 5 minutes.
People are losing their minds after a 200-year-old castle was put up for sale for about half the price you can buy some one-bedroom flats in London. The castle is located on a Scottish island called the Isle of Rum. Come on. It has 20 bedrooms. It was once visited by the king, and you even get to keep all the historical pieces inside, including the demons. Not only was it built all the way back in the late 1700s, meaning it's seen some shit, but it's so cool that it even had public tours going on there for a while. And I mean, may I suggest it being a perfect home for those who have many enemies, as you even have lookout towers so you can see the ops coming from miles away. Now, there are some downsides. The heating might be a little expensive. The cost of monthly exorcisms will probably add up. And if you did want to demolish it and build a multi-story car park, well, permits might be a little tricky to get a hold of because it's a Category A listed building, meaning it's of national importance or whatever. But, if you and the homies wanted to take one bedroom each, you split it, that's £37,000. Because the total price for all of this castle, £750,000. I mean, you may have to defend it against White Walkers one day, but I think it's a bargain.
Mommy told me something a little girl should know. It's all about the devil.
Do you guys want to see a video from the dark web? This is technically the first ever video from the dark web. This video is called Blank Room Soup. I'm gonna play it and we're gonna talk about it after it's finished. Some of you may be confused on why he's crying while he's eating the soup. According to many theories surrounding this video, he's actually eating the remains of his wife and daughter. And these people that dressed up as this thing right here, put them in that soup. There's a second person dressed in that costume that appears later in the video, and as he's crying, they're both patting him and comforting him. However, none of this is actually proved to be real or fake, so I'm gonna err on the side of skepticism and say it's not real. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and comment for what you want to see next. Also, there's apparently a part 2 of this video. Let me know if you guys want me to post that.
If you scare easily, this is not the video for you. In 2001, 4 teens decide to explore an abandoned mansion that locals believed a satanic cult was using to perform sadistic rituals. They go in through a basement window and find a piece of raw meat sitting on the ground with stones around it. It creeps them out, but they keep going. They make it to the first floor, but it's so hot up there they think something's on fire and they run away. The next night, they're feeling brave and decide to go back to the mansion and explore the top floors. They were not ready for what they find.
Cover my bag, alright. What the hell's that? That on the floor. Right there.
Experts believe that the teens stumbled across a satanic cult performing a ritual.
You'll never hear this sound the same way ever again. 15-year-old Estella was strolling down an aisle at the toy store when she heard an odd whistle similar to an iPhone notification. She thought nothing of it. Maybe it was someone's phone in another aisle, so she continued to shop. Minutes later, she heard the whistle again, but this time it was much closer. She turned and saw a man staring at her, grinning sinisterly with a bright white smile. He spoke. "Hi, do you want to be my friend?" Something about that smile set Estella on edge. She was terrified. She weakly said, "Yes." "Well, let's take a picture together because we're friends." Before she could reply, he held up a smartphone and leaned close to her face and snapped a photo. She then told him she had to go and that her dad was waiting on her. As she quickly walked away, she turned and saw his head cocked to his side with a grin across his face. But this wasn't the last time she heard that whistle. Like and follow for part 2.
This is actually insane. A 23-year-old woman faked her entire pregnancy using a prosthetic baby bump, faking ultrasound scans, and even using a mechanical silicone baby to deceive her friends and family after giving birth. Bro, somehow she even convinced the baby's father. How? Now, pretending to be pregnant was the easy part. In public, she'd always wear a prosthetic, and online, she would post ultrasound scans and even come up with convincing details, like some of the tests showed that her baby had a heart defect. She had a gender reveal, a baby shower, and her loved ones turned up with expensive gifts like prams and a car seat. But when it came time to actually give birth, a little more tricky, but she was way too far to go back now. So she locked in. She gave birth completely alone. So brave. And then began posting pictures of her newborn, which turned out to be a hyper-realistic reborn doll, which, for anyone who doesn't know, these dolls can move, have facial expressions, and even pee and poo, and are often used as a form of therapy for those struggling with infant loss, dementia, or infertility. But they can set you back hundreds, if not thousands. However, eventually her family started suspecting that someone was sus. They never heard the child cry, they weren't allowed to touch it, and at this point, realizing that you'd have to freaking adopt a child, send it off to college if you wanted to continue this shit, she decided to call it a day by telling her boyfriend, the father, that the child died. Glad she let him down gently. But by that point, it was too late, and it all came out when her mother reportedly discovered the baby doll in her bedroom. Now, she has since apologized, saying, "You didn't deserve to be lied to like that. None of you did. Everyone who came to the gender reveal, all the people who gave me gifts or support. I just didn't know how to stop once I started. And to everyone I made look bad along the way, the dad and his family especially, I'm sorry."
Can I show you a scary video? The jump scare in this video got me, and that's why I want to show it to you, so slight trigger warning. It's a really old Japanese ghost video, so I really don't have any information on it, so I'm just going to show it to you. Here it is.
って言うから、俺置いたんで別に俺が悪くないんで、あと、先輩なんですけど、3人で飲みに行った時に、先輩がトイレ立った時に、先輩財布、先輩の財布から2000円抜いてました。はい、それと、あと、これだけはちょっと言っとかなあかんなって思うことがあって、一番ちょっと俺が先輩に怒られた、ガットの糸こんにゃく事件あったじゃないですか。あれ巻きつけてたの。で、あれ俺が糸こんにゃく巻きつけたんじゃなくて、あれやったの新藤先輩です。はい。それだけ言えれば、俺は思い残すところはないので、とりあえずさんと、末永くお幸せに。おめでとうございます。あれどうですか？それと、後ろなんかいる？ちょっと開けて。なんかね、お前おらん？なんも。
Here's why Princess Diana might have been killed by the royal family. So this is Princess Diana and her boyfriend. The two of them had been appearing in the press a lot for PDA, which broke the royal code. So the royal family did not like their relationship at all. Also, right before the car accident that killed them both, Diana's boyfriend was actually seen purchasing an engagement ring. The father of the boyfriend also said he spoke to Princess Diana during the night of the crash, and she told him she was pregnant. And right before Diana died, she wrote this note to her butler. It says that Prince Charles was planning her death by causing a car accident using a brake failure and serious head injury so that he would be able to marry his new woman. Now, the man responsible for the murder was the driver during the night of the crash named Henry Paul. He was actually a paid informant to the British Special Forces, and what's weird is that his bank statements show he was anonymously transferred millions of dollars right before the crash. Like for
Ghost stories from around the world. Malaysia, the Penanggal. Once there was a young girl who was bullied by a lot of people in her village. People would often say really mean and terrible things to her, like she had a face that only her mother would love. And that made her bitter and angry, especially towards married or pregnant women. One day when the bullying was especially bad, she finally broke down and went on a rampage, which resulted in the deaths of many pregnant women in her village. She was then obviously caught and brought to justice. The villagers and the families of the victims hung her by a really tall tree, then used a different piece of rope and tied her legs together, then tied the other end of the rope to a bull. When the bull was let go, her body was pulled out, leaving her head and her organs dangling from the tree. And that's how she became a vengeful spirit, who floats around at night trying to find a pregnant woman to be her victim.
Canal 5 was absolutely terrifying, and if you lived in Mexico, you were warned to never turn Canal 5 at 3 a.m. At exactly 3 a.m., you would see like distorted faces, strange audio coming from the TV, and kids said that sometimes even the cartoons had distorted faces and everything was absolutely terrifying. Some even said when the TV was static, you can see like figures and even hear whispers coming from it, which, yeah, I couldn't have imagined how terrifying that was. And we all know that 3 a.m. is like the space where spirits and stuff come out, and parents even claim that supposedly when their kids would watch Canal 5 at 3 a.m., they would have nightmares and sleep paralysis for weeks. To this day, people claim that they experience the same thing over and over again, each one kind of similar, which is, very scary. And if you know Canal 5, you know how scary and odd, like for example when they made those weird Twitter posts? Yeah, no, you don't want that. So if you're scrolling at 3 a.m. and you come across Canal 5, just turn the TV off. You're not gonna win.
YouTubers' houses before and after fame. Phase rug. Before. After. Mr. Beast. Before. After. Logan Paul. Before. After. DDD. Before. After.
Let's talk about one of the scariest urban legends that actually turned out to be true. In the 1970s in Long Beach, California, there was an amusement park called the Pike Amusement, and inside this park was this creepy little fun house called Life in the Dark. Inside of Life in the Dark were a bunch of mannequins, and this urban legend started circulating around that all of them were fake except one. There was just something about this mannequin that turned people away. They said it was a little too human, and they even said that the area around it was just stanky. So flashing forward to a few years later, a TV crew comes in to film The $6 Million Man, and they decide to use Laugh in the Dark as one of their sets. So the director's trying to get the perfect shot, and this one mannequin that's been in question is in the shot, but he's just not liking how it's looking with it in it. So we ask one of the crew members to move it. So this crew member goes over, and when he tries to move the mannequin, its arm falls off. Inside is human bone. It's actually a mummified body. The body belonged to Elmer McCurdy, who was dubbed the bandit who wouldn't give up. He was an outlaw who was robbing a train in Oklahoma in 1911 when he was taken out by the police. His body was on display at an Oklahoma funeral home, but ownership changed and he got shifted around and around and around until he finally ended up at the Pike Amusement, and everyone thought he was fake until he was finally positively ID'd in 1976.
People are sending me creepy videos all the time. What would you do if you saw this woman while walking alone at night? What the f*** was that?
This is proof that we weren't alone. Why does this mountain have stripes? It was called Mato, and its size was approximately 600 feet tall. The legend is that a group of girls were out playing when they came across gigantic bears. To escape the bears, the girls climbed to the top of the summit and prayed to the Great Spirit. The Great Spirit heard their prayers and caused the rock to rise up from the ground out of the reach from the bears. The bears tried to climb up to get them and dug their claws in the rock to gain grip, but kept sliding down because it was too steep for them to climb. The bears' claws scratched the straight marks that are seen to this day.
Alam nyo ba ang tiyanak, aswang na baby vampire? Mag-ingat kayo kapag may narinig kayong baby na umiiyak sa gubat, sa kadiliman, sa bukid, kasi baka tiyanak ito, hindi baby. Ang tiyanak ay mga sanggol na namatay o mga sanggol o fetus na nilaglag, kaya sila ay galit at naghihigante. Pwede rin yung mga sanggol na namatay bago sila mabaptize. Ayon sa kwento, yung biktima may maririnig na umiiyak na baby sa gubat. Tapos yung biktima pupunta dun sa baby, tapos magugulat siya kasi yung baby magtra-transform into this monster. Tapos papatayin siya at kakagatin. Ang itsura ng tiyanak ay matalas ang ngipin, matalas ang tenga, patulis, tapos bloodshot red ang mata. Kaya mag-ingat kayo kapag may narinig kayong umiiyak na sanggol sa gabi. Baka tiyanak na yun. Tas itong movie na ito, Tiyanak with Janice de Belen, ay isang popular classic Filipino horror movie. Maaring nag-originate ang Tiyanak during the Spanish time, Spanish colonization, para ma-inspire yung mga native or mga katutubong Pinoy na magpapaptize para hindi maging tiyanak yung mga sanggol nila. Kasi nabasa ko noon na yung mga aswangs, propaganda ito ng mga Spanish, ng mga pare, para ma-inspire tayo na huwag pray sa mga babaylan or huwag tayo magsunod sa mga babaylan at mag-convert to Catholicism. But don't quote me on that.
This is by far the most terrifying urban legend because it's based on a true story. Back in the 1970s, there was a really creepy funhouse located in Long Beach, California, and it was called Laugh in the Dark. There were a bunch of clowns and fake mannequins in there, but there was one mannequin that stood out the most. This one looked like an actual human, and when children would visit the funhouse, they would say that that area where the mannequin was standing in smelled really bad. A few years go by, nobody does anything about that mannequin until this film crew arrives to Laugh in the Park.
York. They turned the area into a set for their show $6 Million Man, but that one mannequin, they wanted to move out of the way because he just didn't look right. He was like painted neon orange to glow in the dark, and they didn't want him there. So a crew member grabs the mannequin by the arm to move it out of the way, and the arm comes off. The arm is literally in this guy's hand, and he notices bone underneath the desiccated skin, like dried up skin. There's bone in there. So then they find out that that mannequin was actually a real human that was mummified by a mortician. His name was Elmer McCurdy, and he had passed away 65 years before this whole incident took place.
Talk about one of the scariest videos out on the internet right now. Today we're talking about the helicopter crash that was live streamed. This is 55-year-old Tang Fiji. He's a Chinese aviation influencer, and this is the actual video of him flying that day. Tang had 100,000 followers on the Chinese TikTok Douyin, and he goes live, and 1,000 people are watching him as he flies over Zheng County, China. He's flying in this single-seat twin rotorcraft helicopter. It's ultralight, and he purchased this thing for like $49,000. As he's flying along, the blades start to spin out of control, and as you see here, it plummets to the ground. And then, not long after, a cloud of smoke follows, with it then bursting into an explosion. As a result of this crash, Tang was pronounced dead at the scene. Tang had successfully flown this helicopter at least twice, because 2 times he had flown and talked about having incidences with a faulty fuel gauge. He also claimed to have mastered the controls of this helicopter in just 6 hours of practice. I can't lie, this is a pretty crazy thing to see happen. Rest in peace to Tang, and as always, it's pretty scary.
These are scary urban legends that were proven to be real, part 1. Up first is the Candy Lady. In the early 1900s, children in a unnamed small town in Texas started to go missing out of nowhere. And every single one of the residents blamed it on the Candy Lady. The story says she would go around leaving candy on kids' windows, and she would eventually lure the children out with notes attached to the candy saying they will get more candy. The story started getting extremely popular when a farmer found rotten teeth in his farm and also a young boy's dead body with his pockets stuffed with candy. So if you live in Texas, you better watch out for the Candy Lady.
This creepy video has already blown up all over the internet. Make sure your kids see it. In the clip, you can see a little girl totally absorbed in an arcade game out on the street. At first, nothing seems off. Then, at some point, a person in a clown costume steps out of a car parked behind her and carefully heads toward the girl. As he gets closer, the clown starts goofing around and chatting her up in that typical clowny way. He even hands her a quarter so she can take another shot at the machine. The girl and the clown celebrate the win together, and that's when a second man in a clown suit gets out of the car. Now there are 2 of them, both messing with her head, feeding her cheerful banter, and handing over another coin for the game. It's all about earning her trust. The girl keeps smiling with the clowns, and then they suggest she come with them to their job at the circus because there are way more arcade machines there. The clowns really pour it on, laying it on thick and slowly steering her closer and closer to the car. She believes them, because for a lot of kids, clowns don't set off any alarms. If anything, it's the opposite. Thankfully, a young woman standing nearby had been watching this whole scene for a while. She instantly sensed something wasn't right. At the very last moment, she managed to save the girl, stopping the clowns from pulling her into their car.
Do not watch this video at night, this will freak you out. In the photo behind me is a man named Cody, and while he was home by himself, he was starting to experience some very odd things. He was hearing noises, and it was pretty clear that he thought someone was in the house. And by the way, the footage that I'm about to show you was recorded by him. When he walked over to the bathroom, the lights were flickering. But not only were the lights flickering, but the faucet was on, so he turned the faucet off and left. At this point, Cody got pretty freaked out, so he went outside and called his wife and let her know what was happening. His wife insisted that he would stay outside, however, Cody decided to go back in and do some more filming. When he went back inside, the entire kitchen was a complete mess. Cupboards were open and things were thrown around as seen in this photo, and this right here is the clip of him first walking in. When Cody watched this clip back, he saw something absolutely terrifying in one of the frames. This is the still frame. Can you see it? This is what he saw looking out from the corner of his daughter's bedroom door. If I were Cody, I'd be selling my house and moving out immediately.
These are the darkest videos on YouTube, and this is a massive trigger warning. At a Las Vegas home on the evening of July 21st, 2021, A disturbing event happened around 8 p.m. where a young lady had been working in her kitchen waiting for her husband to get home from work. It was around 100 degrees out that day, so she opened her window to let some breeze in, but this harmless act would lead to a terrifying series of events. Outside the home, a man had been wandering the neighborhood aimlessly before stopping in his tracks, and in front of him was the open window and a clear view of the woman inside. He then went up to the house and rang the doorbell, and the camera started to record.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? What? Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you.
The man stands there ringing the doorbell and knocking at the door, repeating the same sentences over and over again. However, the woman inside has never met this man, and in fact, she'd never even seen him up until this moment. And to make it even more strange is that the woman didn't respond to the man at all, and was out of view as he was speaking through the door, and the phrases he was saying was not in response to anyone, and instead he was just speaking to himself. Fearing for her own safety, the woman inside did not answer the door or respond to him, leading the man to take things a step further.
Are you positive? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure? Are you absolutely certain?
The footage is super off-putting, and although the man seems to stay perfectly calm, there was something very aggressive about the way he was speaking. But as the man begins to walk away, the woman's husband, who was still at work, chimes in through the doorbell, which will lead to the man revealing why he was ringing the doorbell.
Sure. So, who are you? What? Yeah? Are you sure? Who are you? Hey, I just had a couple questions. I just wanted to ask you about ABCO. Yeah, can you hear me? What I'm looking for is the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to rip her and kill her. You have her open the door? I'm going to rip the girl that's on the other side of this door and she lets me in.
It was no secret what he was planning now. He literally says it, even revealing that he had weapons to make it happen.
I want to rip her first. I have a knife and a gun. Yeah, and I'm going to knock on her door again.
If that woman opened the door, or if the door was unlocked, well, we all know what would have happened. But thankfully, that situation did not play out, and the man walked away muttering the same phrases over and over. Police were then called, but the man wasn't found. The woman then posted the clip, and it soon went viral on YouTube, and a day after the video was posted, a viewer recognized the man walking in another neighborhood. And after the police were called, the man would be arrested. And when asked for his name, the man said the Holy Spirit, though his real name would reveal to be Christopher Sums. This whole situation is just terrifying, and I can't stop thinking about what if that woman opened the door? We would be having a completely different conversation about this whole situation. But again, thankfully she did not.